Okay, so we're live, guys. First of all, welcome both of you to the panel and all the audience that joins us. I know people are just gonna come in a couple of minutes. So this is Liquidated Talks by Polynomial. We started this pattern very recently. This is our third talk, and it's more like an open-ended chat, and we invite people from other protocols and just talk about random ideas. We try to do some plugins in between, like our plugins. So please feel free to do your plugins as well, Mark. And yeah, that's about it. If you have any questions on whatever Gautham is talking about, I'm talking about, feel free to interrupt and ask. So that's the format. And before we begin, I would like both of you to introduce yourself. So Mark, would you like to go first?
Of course, yeah. So hey everyone, my name is Mark. I work at the Optimism Foundation. I am on the partnerships team, really championing growth of the Superchain. I have direct relationships with many of the chains, growing on the building on top of the OP stack and contributing to Superchain. So my main goal is just to provide them support and give them insights into how to best grow their ecosystem.
Awesome. Gautham.
Hi, I'm Gautham. I'm one of the co-founders of Polynomial. So Polynomial is an optimism superchain primarily made just for trading. And our core thesis is that we want to have a separate L2 just for trading derivatives and building products around derivatives. So, and we do this by having this liquidity layer, which is shared across applications. And yes, so yeah, we've been live with Optimism for 2 years now, and we were an app on Optimism, and now we are moving into OP Superchain.
Yep. Optimism grants have been so helpful for Polynomial throughout its lifespan. You have no idea. We've built entire products out of those grants.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's been great to see Polynomial really with us since day one. So you guys are such an OG protocol.
Do you see a lot of teams spinning out and making their own L2?
Oh yeah, I mean that's definitely the what we imagine to happen in the future. A lot of the apps right now that that have achieved sufficient scale on OP mainnet, they now have started to approach us saying hey, now might make sense for us to have our own block space. And also, so for some applications that really require fast finality and just high throughput, it makes a ton of sense. So I think Lyra was one of those first chains that became an app chain, their Lyra and then also Orderly. Both of them kind of, I believe both were first an application, then had kind of spinned in to become an app chain. So I think this is generally what we're going to see across the industry too.
So you see, it's more like the Cosmos vision sort of happening in the Ethereum aligned ecosystem, right?
Yeah. So that is also super such a great point. It kind of feels like we're converging on a singular. We all had Ethereum, Cosmos, all these different ecosystems. Solana all had a different approach to the same problem, and then now we're all kind of converging on kind of a Frankenstein version of that vision. So yeah, to back to your point, I do kind of see some type of Cosmos vision where each application will be its own chain, way in the future. I still think there's value for applications that are just beginning to run on OP mainnet or Base or Mode or Fractal or any of these general purpose ecosystems.
Okay, so now that you touched upon the Superchain, that's the biggest elephant in the room right now, since I think a month or more than a month now on your Twitter. So where did it originate? How the vision? So can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so I think to properly explain the Superchain, it's good just to do a little history lesson on Optimism and just who our team is and basically how we came to be. So basically OP mainnet started as just a purely academic exploration into scaling Ethereum. It started as Plasma, but the Plasma Plasma chain really didn't really have like any type of actual real use case, or like developers found it really tough to build on top of. So we had to basically kind of reorient our vision, and our first layer 2 was OP mainnet. And what brought with that was like basically an ability to bash transactions and be able to submit them all to L1, and basically achieve higher throughput and settle on Ethereum. And so what we've seen from there, though, is that now there's a bunch of L2s, right? It's not just us. There's like all the chains on the OP stack, and then also Arbitrum, Polygon, etc. And so really, like, what we've done is we've sufficiently horizontally scaled Ethereum, and I think we were doing like over like each individual chain doing over like 100 TPS or something like that, whereas Ethereum's doing like 10 to like 13 TPS. So we're doing a great job in terms of like horizontally scaling Ethereum. But like the process of actually going from one chain to another, like let's say like OP mainnet to base, is like pretty difficult, and users oftentimes like get confused. Like it's, you know, there's just like a lot of user friction there. So I think what we're trying to do with native interoperability on the Superchain, and these are chains like at first like Base, OP mainnet, Lisk, Mode, and a couple others, is that what we're enabling with native interoperability is basically this secure communication layer between all of these chains, so that you don't need to go through the bidding experience, in the sense that there's almost a bridge built in within the chain. And so you can actively have assets teleport from one chain to another. So that is what we like recently announced with our native interoperability vision.
Do you see something like a person opening an Aave position on base from assets on Optimism?
Exactly. Yeah.
And will that happen in the same transaction or like over a duration? Like
yeah, so that would be happening in the same transaction. So
so this is like quite helpful for us also, right? Like, you know, people can like come in through a centralized exchange to like something like Base, in that same transaction, like open a position, like open a trade. So that is like the longer term mission, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And so it's just like, I think what we're trying to solve for, and also with we're also partnering with Across and their recent development work on ERC 7683, is basically like on the application layer, you know, users should be able to bring and use whatever assets they already hold and interact with your application, right? Like that should not be the barrier, that you hold ETH on OP mainnet or Base. It should just be the fact that you hold ETH like flat out, and that is the like basically that allows you to interact with the application and use it, right? So we're really trying to abstract the chain level and really just like focus on the user and user experience.
So like
the very,
I mean, in a simpler term, it looks like a bridge, right? Like what is the inherent difference between a bridge and the Superchain mission in terms of like?
Yeah, so what we're working towards right now is like basically on the application level, being able to do what you just said, right? So being able to supply any type of asset and do any type of on-chain action, right? So like right now on Moonwell, you can bring, and this is like a really good implementation of it. Right now on Moonwell, you can bring, let's say, USDC even on, let's say, Avalanche, and deposit it and lend against it. So that's enabling ERC 7683. Under the hood of that year, within that standard, we are enabling like faster finality between two like OP stack superchains. And so it's basically like at the high level, there's going to be fast transactions between you know, an Arbitrum and a OP mainnet, and then very, very fast finality and transactions between OP mainnet and Base, which are both built on the OP stack. So that's like basically we're focusing on it at the application level. as like because that's where like users go. Like that's where we want users to go. And I think going to going back to like bridging is leads just like to drop off of like user activity and retention. So that's what like we hope is the case. And I think when we achieve higher throughput, like we did when we went from pre-Bedrock to post-Bedrock with OP mainnet, and also with like 444 across Ethereum, like we saw a increase in activity. So I think once we start to really enable like this native interoperability and faster transactions between these chains, like we're also going to see higher activity. So like that's our like overall goal, right? And that's how we're going to actually measure, in one way at least, like one criteria, like measure like how effective our solution was to interoperability and like enabling better user experience.
So is the whole idea to make a user feel that they are just on blockchain, they're just interacting to the platform no matter where they are, which chain they're on?
It's basically like you are on the internet, right? Like it's like I think we need to bring like this internet level internet like feel to like using decentralized applications, right? Like you don't, when you're on a certain like you're on your favorite social media website, right? Like you don't, I guess, I mean, I don't know like the ins and outs of like just basically like servers and everything, but like you don't know that you're using some server base over the other, right? Like you just know that you're on the website. And so we want the same type of experience while using decentralized applications, just because that's how we bring, that's how we bring about adoption, right? So that's like our general vision. I think everyone shares that generally too. And
So
that's why
I think
Superchain is also building out their own interoperability solution. And so like Arbitrum has their own like system, all of course, like Polygon as well. And how we're combining and meshing all those together is through ERC 7683.
Sorry, Gautam, you had something?
no, so it's more about like everything happening in the same block itself, right? Like more like an intent approach, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly. It's an intent-based approach.
yes. So so how do you think like I don't know, like for people like in the trading, at least in the community, right? They mostly care about like how well they can trade. I mean, obviously, like faster interop leads to better outcomes, right? Like you can obviously bridge from one chain to another, like within few seconds within few seconds now, but over that, like you can do it like almost instantly. So what that allows is like people to place trades much faster, react much faster to markets, right? But do you think like it's going to like have like protocols which are inherently super chainish, right? Like protocols which are like just for this coordination level activity, not just bridges, like for example a per chain which is like across multiple chains, or like a lending market which is across multiple chains, but all on the super chain.
Yeah, wait, could you like restate your question a different way?
Should I rephrase it?
Yeah, you should.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but a bridge, you're putting a bridge out of business. You're putting platforms which allow you to, let's say, lend my money on one chain and borrow from the other chain instantly, out of business. So how do you think they will react to it? Is that correct, Gautam?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Or like, do you think a new generation of applications will come because of this newer way, where the old ones are?
Of course, right? Like I never bet against innovation. One of the like innovation begets innovation, and I don't have a crystal ball, and I can't honestly kind of predict or anticipate what type of new protocols will be produced out of bringing interoperability to the industry. But what we have seen is that whenever an innovation is introduced, developers start playing around with it, and they start seeing edge cases and gaps, and start kind of like optimizing on top of that. So, I think where in maybe a perps chain, it could be interesting, in the future, is like thinking about settlement. So you place a trade on one chain and you settle on another, like what type of opportunity does that present, and what type of protocols can we actually build on top of that? So like that's just like, I don't know. I think that's, yeah, I don't have a great answer for you. Unfortunately, like I can't like tell you specifically, but I think like everyone would generally agree that, right? Like whenever you bring a new innovation, like the only thing that basically one of the outputs is more innovation
Yep.
and more progress. So
Totally. Mark's just being humble and not saying that we're going to put the bridges out of business.
yeah, I mean, the thing is though, is like we're working with Across on this ERC, and so it's not like we're going to be putting these like bridges out of business. It's just like maybe it's going to be abstracted to a different level.
Agreed. Yep, totally makes sense. Talking about Perps chain actually, so last 2 weeks were the liquidity generation event for the Polynomial chain, which we launched 2 weeks ago. So Gautam, from you, I want to know, how has these 2 weeks been? How's the journey so far been? And what's coming up for us now?
Yeah, so a bit of a backstory from our side. Anyway, so we launched on Optimism 2 years back, and we've been part of the Grant Zero of Optimism. We didn't even know we had a token, and we got like a decent grant. And then built at that time we were building out walls, and then we built out perps. So we built out perps. I think we are even the second biggest perp in OP mainnet even now, and we realized over time that we wanted to own our own block space, and that just helps better in like trade execution and all those things, and we can do a lot more stuff because trades are cheaper, and people like, well, a lot of times, like sometimes the gas used to spike and it used to cost like $10, $15 to just place a trade, and it just priced out a lot of users, because I think the whole point was we wanted to scale, and it was like standing in the way. So I think this new way of Superchain like allowed us to like build our own L2, and we've been building it from the beginning of this year, and we launched it publicly 2 weeks ago, and we are now allow people to like deposit and stake to provide liquidity for the Polynomial chain. And the main thing that we are trying to do is like we want to make a system where like people can come and create protocols by sharing a single liquidity, right? So one issue we had was like whenever we were upgrading protocols, we had to like go and gather liquidity again. So here like there is a shared liquidity layer, and then people can like place trade. So there can be like an options product, there can be a per product, so multiple products in an ecosystem, and they are all like using the same liquidity. So we made this live. It's been live for like 2 weeks now, and today like we are making our first product of this ecosystem live, which is trade. It's a perp exchange, and in a few hours, hopefully, if all the bugs are fixed, and so we are like super excited to be part of the Superchain, because like the possibilities of what we can do in the future is like much higher than being an isolated L2. So if I miss something, Abhishek can add.
No, that's pretty much it. So the first protocol is trade, but we have already invited people to build on top of us. We'll support them in every way possible. How we have been receiving support from Optimism, Synthetics, and a lot of other protocols. So that's the idea here, and I think you summed it up pretty well.
So the main thesis is just to build a block space just for derivatives trading, and like a small category, but like a huge category in centralized exchange. But like if I like still like very nascent, but like that's the main thing.
Yep. I know you talked about, so this is your own L2, and we talked about it before the call started, and all three of us had no idea how to answer it, but I'm still gonna put it out there now. The question: how feasible is it to make your own L2? So Gautam, you talked about the support that we have received from Optimism. You don't have that support, hypothetically, or someone is launching their own L2. How do they go about it? And it's an open question for Mark and Gautam both, because you guys are in the L2 space, and you guys are like probably the best people to ask these questions.
Yeah. So I'll start with a funny anecdote, and then I'll try to answer your question seriously. So about 6 months ago now, I spun up an L2 via Conduit. Like I went onto Conduit's website, literally spun up a testnet. And this was more of an experiment, right? I just wanted to actually understand directly kind of like how easy is it to launch an L2, like to bring it from testnet to mainnet. What are all the considerations? Can you actually build up liquidity easily? This was also during the time that we were seeing like meme coins, just like this was like meme coin era, right? And so there was like a lot of volatility, a lot of liquidity entering into the system. And so like I was just generally curious, right? And what's interesting is that like, sure, you can like spin up a testnet or mainnet like functionally, but the question of traction and also working with the wide array of ecosystem partners is like beyond challenging, right? Like you need to work with the wallets, you need to work with oracles, RPC providers, indexers. If you want to have some type of like account abstraction, you need to work with those providers. You need to have your first DEX. If you're like a DeFi protocol and like or DeFi chain, I guess. And then potentially with like some of these like risk advisors or like risk management, such as Gauntlet, RE7, and like the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And so that's exactly why I sit like in my role, is like we understand how difficult it is to launch a chain. And so aside from all the technical requirements, which is tough, right? Like even that in itself is like there's a lot of considerations. You can go through our docs; they're long. There's a lot of but we try to make them simple. But there's a lot of considerations. It's also a new space. So my answer to your question that is like there is an acknowledgement that it is tough to launch a chain. I think teams that do it super well are those who are already in the space, like just like Polynomial. Like you guys already are already like within the space, are well known, and have experience with some of the challenges of like launching an application. I think like that is like some of the building blocks to like launching an application. You understand, you're able to like navigate much more smoothly, like how to like overcome certain obstacles. And then launching a chain is going to be much easier. Where I've seen it be difficult is like chains, like teams like going from like 0 to 1, which is like going from like no application, no chain to like launching their own L2. That's where it gets tough. Like that's where it's like they have to overcome a lot of those, and they don't have like some of those like soft things, which is like your favorite like Telegram channel, where it's like they don't have a place to like shill their ideas, like bounce ideas back off each other, like those existing ecosystem relationships that you may have developed like at ETH Denver 5 years ago, right? Like those are things that like are needle movers when it comes to like actually launching a chain and like gaining that immediate traction. So yeah, that's like my long-winded answer. But I think I would just like to finalize this like idea with by sharing that like because Optimism and like my team specifically recognizes that like we are doing everything in our capacity to right now do the very difficult work and reach out to a lot of these ecosystem providers and like start pre-negotiating deals and saying like, hey, Oracle provider, hey, like AA tooling provider, like let's see if like because we imagine there's going to be a lot of L2s built on top of the OP stack, like let's get like a deal here. Like let's try to bundle this in some way and get some pre-negotiated pricing. And so that chains, there doesn't need to be this, process of like, okay, I need to go negotiate with like 5 separate partners. No, like negotiation process takes forever. And like sometimes you feel like you're not getting the best deal. But coming to Optimism, you know that you're getting the best deal and you can move on and actually start focusing on the users. So that's my thought process on that.
I would say like we build our first app, or every time like when we build a new product from on OP mainnet, it took like 3 months on average. 3 months, like not including audit time and stuff like that. But it took like 6-7 months to launch its rollup, and the first rollup was pinned out in, as you said, like 5 minutes. Went to conduit, pressed a button, and that was it. I think
Yeah.
here the main hurdle is like deciding what to do, because you have to pick like all these providers, all these tooling, all this infrastructure, and it's much harder than I would expect. And I would say, like, if you are like still building like an app for the first time, I think it's better to like make an app than to make a chain specifically
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
Unless you have like a very specialized use case, get some traction, grow it out, bring the users, and then like port. That is what we did. But yeah,
Every pain point that you talked about, Mark, account abstraction, finding a paymaster, finding an oracle, are points on which we have spent a month each. So the moment you were counting them, we were counting our like those days when we were actually talking to these. And it's been months since we started the conversations. But we went launched like 2 weeks back. So we understand completely how difficult it is to do it all by yourself.
Yeah.
Touching on the point of that, when you mentioned that ecosystem and you'll get the best deal, because the ecosystem, so Optimism is never gonna think about making money off someone deploying a chain, right? Optimism wants to grow as an ecosystem, because if the ecosystem grows, everyone grows.
Exactly.
Yeah. And coming to the probably the one that highlighted the most out of the things that you mentioned when you're launching something, shilling things. So I have seen, this is probably an appreciation question as well, that you guys are really good at marketing things.
Yeah.
How or who is the brain behind this marketing and Optimism? How are you? Are you guys a really big marketing team who does this? Who does this? Like, how
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah. So what I think is like really special about Optimism is like when I first joined, I joined in October of 2023. And one of my first meetings within Optimism is like it was like like a marketing meeting. I was just sitting in on it, right? And from like day one of me joining, like the something that like we have impressed upon ourselves and just like have carried to the market is like we will never try to like, even though this question started out with like shilling, like we never want to come across that we are shilling like OP mainnet and like come out with these like massive like APR numbers, like when we were just focusing on OP mainnet, or just like, I think generally speaking we tried to take like a more like graceful approach to marketing. And we have a phenomenal marketing and design team. It is an illusion though, like we are a small and scrappy team for sure. And so like that just speaks to the quality of the people that we have on our design and marketing team. I think how we have been able to basically explain like especially like retro funding, I feel like we've done a really good job about like all the marketing around retro funding and explaining like the vision and why we're doing it, as like the most sustainable model for like basically getting a grant, as like a chain or an application building on top of the super chain. So I give like a million kudos to that team. I think in terms of just like the individuals themselves, like Ryan Wyatt, our head of growth, he is like a marketing mastermind. He is someone that I learn from like daily. And then Amanda as well, our head of marketing. She comes from Polygon, and she is someone who is like both like incredibly down to earth and chill, but also is just has a like unshakable vision. And so that itself is like really inspiring to see. And like whenever I speak with her, like I feel so much comfort knowing that like we know what the vision that we're trying to deliver on is, and we're like there's a plan set in place. And so but the one caveat I'll bring to all of this though is you guys may have seen on Twitter recently, there's a lot of discourse around like, is Optimism like Ethereum, or is Ethereum Optimism? Like, where does that like, how do those two things fit together? And that's a hard kind of like narrative moment to like nail. And I think that we haven't done enough yet there to explain what an L2 is, explain our relationship to Ethereum, explain like the difference between like OP mainnet and Optimism. Like those are two separate things altogether. And so yeah, there's still, I mean, all of this is to say that is like there is a lot for us to improve when it comes to how we communicate to the market, but overall, like, yeah, we just have great people who like really want to like present our product in the best light.
You're doing a
Yeah.
phenomenal job at that, I must say. And
Yeah, no, sure, definitely. And we like work with great partners too, like great partners like you guys. Like your guys' marketing, honestly, is so smooth, so clean, and it makes our job super easy.
yep. So I'll forward it to the lone wolf that we have in marketing. Gautam, you're posting tweets before and after sleeping. Also, I think the first thing that you do probably do in the morning is post a marketing tweet. So, what do you think? Like, being you and Akhil are the only two people who are posting things from our accounts. So, how difficult is it to market your product from your perspective?
I think you should not market now. You should just vibes, I guess.
Hmm.
I think it's more like you're just talking and telling a story to people, I guess, and making them interested.
Yeah.
I think Optimism does a really good thing about that. I think crypto products in general, like we generally don't market in like compared to Web2 products, right? Ads are banned, all these things are different. So almost all crypto products grow organically via referral, like very different than how it is. So I think it generally like vibes matter a lot more. And I think OP had really good vibes from beginning, like just by like even the chain IDs are like memes, like all these like things are
Yeah.
like yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long way. And we also tried to do it, but we made our chain ID 8008, just chilling. So it's
Yeah.
more like it's a vibe. I think crypto is more vibes, and then like it's if it's interesting enough, then people talk about it, and then your ecosystem becomes good or great.
Yeah. Exactly. Like we always tried to have a nod to our like early roots as a like organization and just community in the sense that like, yeah, like chain IDs are all like 420, like contract codes are all like 420, and we start our Twitter spaces all at 420 UST. Like we try to like, I guess you could think of those as like Easter eggs that we try to like place around just to like remind people that like there are humans behind this protocol, right? Like this is not just like an organization that runs itself. It's a collection of people who are all kind of weird, and like we're all doing this crypto thing. And so yeah, so like we just try to create like continue to make Optimism have like good vibes, feel human, and like that attracts developers too, right? Like they want a community that feels like they can align with and identify with.
I think it also like goes back to like Vita, like rainbow unicorn T-shirts and stuff like that, like Uniswap, all those things. I think like Ethereum always had that vibe, and it's the same vibe as Ethereum. So I think
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Okay. Talking about vibes, we have these awards coming up. Some awards
Yes.
from Optimism, which like Forbes is marketing. So what's it all about?
Yes. Okay, that is a great question. So, okay, some of you guys may know Benji from the interwebs. Benji is on our partnerships and growth team. He within our team was the original mastermind or person behind We Love the Art. And so if you guys remember We Love the Art, We Love the Art was basically a like America's Got Talent for like on-chain creators, where there was like a panel of judges that like looked over like, I think it was like we had like thousands of submissions of art submissions, and then like we gave away, I think it was like I think it was like 1.2 million OP or something along those lines. I don't know like exact figures, but I would try to like think of the Sunnies as almost like the same thing, but it's now generalized across like all types of builders. Like Basically, it's an award show voted on by, or at least it's an award show for the community in the sense that we are trying to use like on-chain metrics to basically set the criteria for how much OP each team is eligible for and is rewarded. But the categories are submitted to or like are proposed by the community. So they can range from like project with the most amount of like Farcast retweets or whatever the Farcast equivalent to is that like a Farcast equivalent is versus like also like which DeFi app with like the like largest TVL, right? Like we're trying to create like a very broad like an award show or basically campaign to showcase like all of the like diverse type of builders and creators that are, you know, on the Superchain. And I think that's like marrying the ideas of We Love the Art and our most recent Superfest campaign in the sense that like We Love the Art was like purely art, right? It's like purely just like you're creating like PFPs and songs, put them on chain. Like we're gonna, you know, have judges evaluate them. For like Superfest, it basically is just like all of the applications, and we're like incentivizing applications and chains on top of the Superchain, and like trying to build up TVL and like liquidity across like OP mainnet, base, mode, and Fractal. And then now it's like kind of capped off like the campaign season with the Sunnies, which is like trying to like recognize all of the significant builders that span both campaigns. So I'm excited for it. Benji has definitely kept this like so like low key and under the wraps that like I'm excited to see kind of like what else he has in store. Like when he pulled out the Forbes like announcement, I was like, Benji, what else is next? Like we're getting Forbes to comment on this. Like Forbes is like old school like finance.
You didn't know that?
Say again?
Like he kept it under the hoods and even the team did not know about it.
Well, I mean, we knew about it, but like he was like, no, don't worry. Like I got this. And so it's like, all right, like, okay, cool. And then now he just like rolls all this out and like puts out a website, like all these partners are announcing. And so it just like shows to the sense, like it just shows that like one person with an optimism can coordinate like all these application developers because they care, right? There's so much activity happening on Optimism, and we all are kind of like bought into this ecosystem that like we want to participate. And that like for us is like, you know, everything that we want.
Really excited about it.
Yeah.
I'll end we are very close to the end. So I'll ask both of you a couple of questions, just one question, that what is the most revolutionary product according to you that you have come across very recently? And after that, feel free to make any announcements if you want, and later on we can share. So anyone who wants to go first, you can go.
I'll let you go first. I need to think about this one.
I will just sell our own product.
Go for it. Yeah, no, this is your time to chill. Go chill now. Like do it right now.
I don't know. Like I think what we do is pretty cool. But yeah, I think.
Go on, Gautham.
Oh, I think like what we do is pretty cool. I think like it solved a lot of pain points for us, mainly like as a developers, but like as a person who trades also, I think like we wanted to have this thing where like a market is made until like it starts with an AMM, it has like good liquidity, and then over a time like it goes to an order book sort of level. I think it's kind of nerdy that like it's more of like how do we make the best user experience for trading and all those stuff, but I think like we did like a pretty good job of like doing it, but some of it is not announced, so I can't really say the cool stuff. But I think like at the end of the year, I think it will have like a pretty good decentralized exchange for trading purposes, because like we did like few billions and we were not very satisfied because we wanted to scale it, right? Like Optimism wanted to scale Ethereum, But like we wanted to scale perps so that we reach the centralization, but like all of them currently kind of suck. Like all of them do like max $1 billion in volume, and like Binance is doing like 100 billion in volume. So like it's not even like a 1% of the market share. So wanted to do something like kind of revolutionary. So like there is the liquidity layer that is live, which is like going to be the base of everything, but it's much smaller over time of what we want to do. And I think like we'll pull it off.
Okay.
I'm not a very good shooter. I think they're right, but
No, that I was sold. And also like the fact that there is like more to share in the future, like also gets me super excited. So I'm just like bullish on what you guys are building. You guys are like an awesome team. And like whenever I've worked with you guys, like I've always walked away from the conversation smiling. So like like I can be bullish on the tech every day, but like not every day am I like bullish on the team. And like you guys are just so awesome to work with. So yeah, I'm stoked for what you guys are building. For me,
Yeah.
I would have to say, you know, cross-chain intents, you know, like native interoperability, like everything that Cross is working on, like that's like our end game in some ways. So to see that actually like come to life is something that I feel really lucky that I'm able to experience. Like it feels like I'm really early. Like it makes me feel early, right? Like the fact that I'm seeing the like very beginning of this actually come to market, like is such a cool experience. Also, I guess quick shill of the this sounds lame to say, but like Coinbase's smart wallets, like I think that's going to be like a really cool onboarding method. And having, I think specifically within that, like there's going to be like some paymaster technology as well, and also you being able to pay for gas in any token, essentially. Like that's a big unlock for our entire industry. Like having ETH as a gas token is like pretty inflexible when you think about it. And if I'm able to use like to the user, right? Like in the back end, like ETH is used as a gas token, but like to the user, right? If I can just pay for everything in USDC, like that makes a ton of sense. So for me, that's something that I am really excited about, just because of its potential to bring like not even like, I guess, bring more people on chain from Coinbase. Like that's like Coinbase the app, Coinbase the exchange. Like people bringing their Bitcoin from the exchange, their exchange wallet on chain, and then like lending it out on something like Moonwell, and having that entire process like you stay within the wallet. Like that's a game. Like that's amazing. So I'm that those are things I'm bullish on. And
we made like all these things on our chain. At least default, like we have, there is no gas. It's all like paymaster. People pay with the token. I mean, most of it we subsidize it at the moment, but like it's like that. And then we also made like all accounts on the chain. Like we made it like smart contract wallets. So every app will use a smart contract wallet, which is something that we're trying to force everyone like who's trying to build. So that's kind of like a what is a pushback that we receive, but like we want to like make sure everybody uses smart contract wallet because it's much easier. There is no approve bugs. There is no like all those weird things that you have, and then it like batches it. I think I agree with you. Like smart contract wallets are pretty cool. I think it should be like the by default, and like you should adopt it soon.
I think the issue is, and I know we're going so over, but I don't care, is that like there's so many like OG crypto people still using MetaMask, and they'll like never stop using MetaMask. And so it's like whenever you speak to someone like and you want to know how long they've been in the industry, like one good question is like, what type of wallet do you use? Like if you use Rainbow Wallet or like Coinbase Wallet, like you're more like newer to the industry. If you're using like, you know, MetaMask, like I use MetaMask sometimes, of course, but like if you only use MetaMask, like you've been in like the game since like 2017. At least that's been my experience. It's like a fun question. Yeah.
Yep. Now in our bug channel, we first ask which wallet do you use, like because most of the times MetaMask is not gonna switch your RPC by default. It's gonna use some bad RPC, so it's just a MetaMask. You can't do anything about it.
Yeah. Oh man, I know the
MetaMask,
wallet. the wallet space is like so tough to like
Mhm.
shake up.
I agree.
So we'll
But
see.
I think like smart contract wallets are more like a complementary thing to MetaMask, right? It's not like directly competing with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mark and Gautam. And it was a really insightful session. We got to know about a lot of things, and we are really looking forward to the Sunnies and the trade launch from Polynomial.
Of course. All right.
All
Thank you
right.
for having me.
Thank you so much. We'll see you guys in the next edition of Liquidated Talks. Bye.